Let's see. Yay. So today I'm here with my friend Thecla. She is a raw foods enthusiast, a mom, and a lover of God. And I'm so excited because I get to talk with Thecla today about raw foods lifestyle. So Thecla, welcome. It's so good to
Thank
see you and talk to you.
you too. I'm very excited to be a part of this.
Yay. So let's start off our conversation with just a really simple, basic question, like what are raw foods and what is raw lifestyle all about?
Yeah. Raw foods are basically anything that is like plant food. So fruit, vegetables, herbs, leafy greens, those kinds of things. Yeah, anything that's not cooked, anything that's actually under 40 degrees Celsius, that would be 104 Fahrenheit. All of that is raw food. So yeah.
Awesome.
So
It
I
sounds
mean,
like, go ahead.
sorry. Yeah, I was gonna say raw foods, they have all their enzymes and they have all their vitamins and nutrients. So we even have a slow juicer actually, and the reason we chose to get one of those is because it slowly goes around and it crushes the fruit or whatever it is that you're juicing, and you get all of the different minerals and nutrients in it. Whereas if you put it like in a high speed juicer, it just kind of kills everything off. So yeah, so it's really good to have raw foods.
Awesome. So it sounds like raw foods are really nutrient dense. They have the most kind of nutrients because they're preserved in their raw state. They're uncooked, they're unheated, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So tell me about like what made you choose raw foods and like your motivation for raw lifestyle.
Yeah, well, this actually is kind of funny because I've never really been interested in health. Until I had to be, I guess you could say, because I always loved my junk food. I loved fast food and Taco Bell and Pizza Hut and all these different places. Anything with cheese on something crunchy was like really good. And so yeah, I got really sick actually, and kind of older that I got, the sicker I got until it just totally crashed actually. I felt I was really sick actually. I had really bad adrenal fatigue. I got to the place where I wasn't sleeping. I slept like 3 to 6 hours a week, and I was in such a fatigued, exhausted state that I could hardly function. My hair started turning gray. My hormones were a complete disaster. And by the time I was 23, actually, I was postmenopausal. So I was not even fruitful, couldn't
Mm.
have any children, and I was just like, what on earth? And so I went to the doctor and took my blood and everything. And he was like, oh, you're fine. Just be positive and take a sleeping pill and you'll be fine. And I was just like, what kind of an answer is that? But okay.
Mm.
So I took the sleeping pill and it made me feel worse. I had this horrible hangover feeling and I didn't sleep. It didn't make me sleep. So then I started feeling desperate and I would take 2 of them and did not make me sleep. I just felt horrible afterwards. And so I just knew that something had to change. Otherwise, this was not sustainable. You can't have 3 to 6 hours of sleep a week and just thrive off of that or live really. So I just decided I was going to figure this out. Why on earth was I so sick? And I was going to get it fixed. And so I started researching, and that's really hard to do when you're not even can't even think straight. But I started researching all these different things, and I've talked to people around the world, both medically trained and also natural medicine, trying to get an understanding of how it all fits together. And so I've tried all kinds of detoxes and diets and drinks and foods and all kinds of different things. And it's just interesting because the more raw that I have become in my diet, the more that I can see detoxing happening. So it kind of all led me back to yeah, I guess the original diet, which we'll get into a little later. But yeah, how this actually is cleansing and how it's healing. And yeah, it's really, really interesting. And as I started to learn a little bit about the physiology, behind why raw foods heal, it was just fascinating. Medicine doesn't actually really support these, I guess you could say this theory, but this fact, and how the body works. But there are different places you can go to actually find studies that actually promote how raw foods heal. I know the NCBI actually has quite a few different reports and studies, different things that you can read. It's a really great database, actually. And yeah, interesting that medicine produces those types of studies. One person that I have found to be very interesting is Robert Morris. He's not a doctor, but he's an herbalist, naturopathic, and an iridologist. And all those different things are very interesting to kind of just see, how the body's working and go by your symptoms and use natural things to heal. So fruit and herbs to heal. And understanding how the body, is alkaline and acid, and foods, either lead towards healing with an alkaline state, or they're acidic and they cause disease and all these different things. So that has been very helpful to me. It's been very interesting, and it's been like utterly eye-opening because it makes so much sense.
Hmm.
So yeah.
That's amazing. I think your story is unfortunately similar to a lot of people who have had to kind of suffer the illness before getting to that
Yeah.
state where, we kind of realize something's wrong here and maybe I can have control over
Yeah.
my health, and discovering, what you can do, and the things that God has provided in nature to really sustain and restore health. So that's really amazing. So you mentioned earlier that you were struggling a lot with sleep and that you had a few different health problems. How has that changed? Like, what kinds of improvements have you experienced since eating more raw foods?
It's changed a lot. I forgot to mention a few other things that I had: cystic fibroids. I have cystic fibrosis. So I was loaded with cysts all the time, and they were so painful, uterus and breast cysts. And it was bad, bad, bad. And ever since going raw, they have all gone away. I don't have polycystic ovarian syndrome anymore.
Wow.
I don't have chronic fatigue. I don't have my hair is like mostly gone back to its normal color now. And yeah, like all these different things that like I struggled with. There's just a couple things I'm still working on. I didn't mention either fatty liver. I've had the longest list of problems. I had fatty liver, I've had pancreatic problems, I've had like all these different things. And most all of that is fixed now. I'm still kind of fine tuning the liver thing, but it was so bad off that like, yeah, it's made such strides. I couldn't eat anything. I was sick. So yeah, so I'm really thankful for that. And I'm so thankful for all these different things that like it's so simple. It's so simple. It's like a simple healing. But it works really well. So I'm very grateful for that.
Yeah, that's amazing. And even now, like while you're talking, you're glowing and you have this like vibrant energy. Yeah, that's really amazing. And you have a little one now too, right?
I do. So yes, my hormones are straightened out. She's 2 years old, and yeah, actually, we had been waiting for like 8 years before we decided to have a baby. We wanted one actually a few years after getting married, but I was so sick that it was just not possible. Like not only physically, but if we had had one, I knew I just didn't have the energy to take care of a baby. So so we were just trying to wait until we got healthier and healthier, and yeah, by the time that we decided to try for a baby, actually, we thought, okay, this is the day we're gonna try, and I got pregnant on first try. So
Wow,
yeah.
that's
So
amazing.
yeah, yeah. I before that I kind of was like, oh man, maybe this will take 6 months, or maybe I won't get pregnant because of the problems I've had in the past. But yeah, definitely all worked out. So
Wow. The body has
yeah,
such an amazing ability to heal.
it does.
I
Yeah.
think that that is one of the most amazing gifts that God has given us is just like a body that can heal itself when we follow the principles of health and when we choose to really, do the things that God intended for us to do with our bodies. That's amazing.
It
So,
is, and especially that, like the Bible talks about up to the third and fourth generation of and we know that like sickness can be passed on because your genetics, go from generation to generation. And it's just so interesting to me that, even all of us, we have genetic weaknesses, but we can actually reverse those genetic weaknesses and pass stronger genetics down to our children. So I just think it's amazing how something that has been so good can get so damaged, yet we can still heal it and pass something good down. And I just think that's amazing how God has done that.
Yes, that's so awesome. I'm I'm always amazed at really how small choices, like little changes, can really make big ripple effects.
Yeah,
Mm.
absolutely.
So
Yeah.
in your study and in your research, kind of looking into the different diets and specifically raw foods, I'm
Yeah.
sure you came across some things that you were kind of like, well, is that really going to work for me? So what are some like common misconceptions that people might have about raw food lifestyle that you've seen?
Yeah. Well, some that I've seen, I know that when like I first heard of a raw diet, I was thinking like, am I going to just be eating salad every day with no dressing, and like, am I going to be starving? Or like, the typical one is like, most people think you need meat in order to have enough protein, or even at that, most people think that you have to be eating like a truckload of beans every single day in order to get enough protein. But the fact of the matter is that like you get an adequate amount of protein in seeds and nuts, and if you eat a large amount of fruits and vegetables and those, seeds and nuts and those different types of things, then you get a perfectly adequate amount. And actually, it's interesting because a high amount of protein in the diet actually is really hard on the liver and the kidneys. So it can stop kidney filtration, and it can turn your liver into a fatty liver, a low functioning liver. So these high protein diets are really not very healthy, actually.
Mm, yeah, absolutely. Um, as we do more research and as we kind of test it out, it's really amazing to see the benefits and really how it works out in the human body, right? There's a lot of theories. I always come across people who say these kinds of things too, like, how do you get your protein? I think was the number one question that I was asked when I
Yeah,
first, transitioned to a plant-based diet. And
yeah,
at first I was like, "Ooh, I don't actually know." But as we do our research and as we eat healthfully and we sometimes I get my blood tested sometimes and everything comes back normal levels, or so it's like, oh, I must be doing something right, yeah.
and I'm sure that you've come across this as well, like about the energy that, like in fructose, for instance. So, like, it's not so much about pumping us full of milk and cheese and meat to keep us going, as it is about the energy, the pure energy in fruit sugar, which actually, it energizes all the cells in our bodies, which it's what gives us energy and what gives us healing. Um, so, yeah, it's the opposite of what we've been taught all these years, actually.
Yeah, go figure. So,
Yeah.
so we've been talking about, kind of a lot of the physical benefits of raw foods.
Yeah.
And I think many people can start to see this even just by making small transitions. I know for me, one of those small transitions was just eating fruit for breakfast. And I started to
Yeah.
notice that energy, right? That energy where I didn't feel tired after eating. And I felt like I can get my work done now. And I'm like, I've got so much energy. I want to work out. So we can see a lot of the physical benefits. But
Yeah.
have you experienced any mental or spiritual benefits after transitioning to raw foods?
Definitely. Yeah, I think it's interesting because like, we understand that it's the frontal lobe that is like our little spiritual connector, I guess you could say. And it's interesting too how the mind and the body are connected. We have the vagus nerve that connects the mind down to the gut. So, like,
Mhm.
if our gut is sick, our mind is going to be clouded and not doing well. And it goes the other way. If our mind is not doing well, then our body is not going to be well. So, it's really interesting how all of that works together. And the foods that we were intended to eat actually feed a healthy gut and a healthy mind and healthy spiritual connection. And just understanding, more about how God has put everything together, like how it works, with heaven, our connection with Him, the earth around us, and everything. It's just absolutely amazing to see His thoroughness in all of His creation. I
Mm.
really, there's more that I learned all the time, and it just opens my mind more and more to, yeah, how amazing He is. It's really amazing.
Yeah. So I love that you mentioned like the mind and body connection, mind body
Yeah,
spirit connection.
yeah.
Um and with regards to that, have you found, do you know of any biblical evidence? Because you mentioned earlier the original diet.
Yeah.
Um so what's that about, and what does the Bible have to say about, what we're supposed to eat?
Yeah. Well, in Genesis, we can read about, the creation. And also, I think it's Genesis 1:26. I think where it talks about the food that he gave to us, which was actually, it was fruits, herbs, and nuts and seeds. Which is quite interesting. It wasn't meat, and it wasn't bread, and it wasn't all these different things. And it seems so simple, often like before when I had read that, I thought, wow, that's simple, but now we've progressed past that. But then if you think about it, why would that be progressing? Because everything that God made, it was perfect and it was good.
Mm,
So why should we like try to improve on that when it was already perfect? So yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, it's interesting because also there's a chart that you can look at on Google. If you look it on if you type it in, it talks about like the omnivore diet,
mm,
the yeah, that's okay. Yeah, yeah, it has all these different like categories of different types of animals, and you can go through and you can see like, okay, like a lion, for instance, they have certain types of teeth. Yeah, there it is. Yeah, it goes through all these different things. It talks about their vision, their chemistry, their teeth, their jaw angle, the way that they eat. Like an herbivore, for instance, they're meant to eat leafy plants and grasses. So as they eat, their jaws go like this kind of, and they grind all the different food. Whereas, the carnivore, they have these pointy teeth where they're meant to rip meat apart and shred it. And not to mention, like, your digestive system and carnivores, for instance, the meat goes in, they have very like acidic stomach acid. The meat doesn't take very long to digest and it's out pretty fast. Whereas with humans, we have a long digestive system. It takes a long time. And our stomach acid is not very high as well. So it's not meant to digest meat, actually. So when people eat meat, that meat has been shown to go through the digestive system. It's very acidic. And since we don't have the stomach acids to digest it, it just sits and ferments. So then we're eating fermented things that's going through our system, making us more sick.
mm.
So yeah, I would definitely suggest anyone to look this up and kind of study this because it's very detailed. But kind of like looking at the end of all this, you can totally tell that, yeah, we were not meant to eat a lot of the things that we're told is the most healthy, actually.
Mm.
So yeah, I found this very, very interesting.
One other thing that I think is really cool, like you mentioned earlier, that God
Mm.
gave humans fruits, herbs, nuts, and seeds, is that there's so much color diversity in all of those foods.
Yeah.
And humans,
Mhm.
we are visual creatures, right? We see
Yeah.
things, and that kind of helps us to know whether we want to eat it or not. And
Yeah,
when I
definitely.
see a chicken, I want to
Yeah.
like cuddle it and hug it and like pet it. And when I
Yeah.
see a banana, I want to
Yeah.
eat it. It's kind
Yeah.
of like so basic, it's self-intuitive, where
Yeah.
the foods that we desire to eat that look tasty to us are the
Yeah.
foods that we should be eating.
Yes.
And
Definitely.
yeah,
Yeah.
and it's society that has conditioned us to think that like a hamburger looks good or that French fries looks good, right? Like if we were in the Garden of Eden,
Mhm.
we would definitely choose the fresh, luscious,
Yeah.
juicy
Yes.
fruits.
Would. We would, and we'd have, the pigs sitting around us, and the dogs and the chickens. They'd be like clucking as we eat our fruits, they'd be clucking by. So yeah, it's definitely true. And like the fruits, I've got a whole bunch of fruits sitting right here. It's so easy to just like peel it and eat it. Like we don't need to rip it apart and like shred it, and we don't need to like cook it in order for it to be healthy.
Mhm.
It's meant for us just to eat as it is, and it feeds us, better than anything else, actually. So
Yeah,
yeah.
that's so awesome and amazing. God is amazing, isn't he? Um,
Yes.
I love being able to learn more about God and really just be drawn towards
Yeah.
obedience to his word, and kind of how it was in the beginning.
Yeah.
I firmly believe that in
Mm.
heaven we'll be eating delicious fruits
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
herbs and nuts and seeds. So
Yeah.
if that's what we're going to be eating in heaven, why not start now?
Right. Yeah. It's interesting because, like, when we get to heaven, we know, the Bible talks about the fruit of the tree of life. It's going to be fruit. And the Bible talks about it producing one type of fruit for every month. So there'll be 12 different fruits in a year. And it's so interesting that it says that, and also that the leaves of the trees will be for the healing of the nations.
Mm,
And I think it's just so interesting to see how God uses the same methods now of, like, herbs is God's medicine, and plants, plant foods are his diet, and he's going to use that same thing when we get to heaven. And I mean, we're going to be, well, when we get to heaven we're going to be transformed, but we're going to have a lot of not hangovers, but like pain from this world. We got a lot of things to heal
mm,
from, and he's going to use the leaves of the trees to heal us. I just think it's
wow.
amazing.
Yeah.
So if we just started now, with God's methods, I think we'd see a lot of improvements, in the way that things are now. I think a lot of people would feel so much better. It'd be sort of a little taste of heaven on earth, I think.
Mm, absolutely. That sounds so
Yeah.
beautiful. Yeah. So you have experienced so much health benefits, mental benefits, spiritual benefits from transitioning to raw foods lifestyle. Do you
Yeah.
think that this lifestyle of eating lots of raw fruits, vegetables, leafy greens, herbs, is it safe for all ages, like young kids, older people? Who can
Yeah.
enjoy raw foods?
Yeah. I think definitely. I mean, like, what is it that kids need in order to, build healthy muscles, and, like, for their organs to function well, and their cells to be healthy and strong and all that. They need nutrient dense food, they need hydrating foods, they need mineral rich foods, they need healthy fats, and some proteins, and all of this is found in vegan and even raw vegan food. So I think not only is it healthy, but it's really the thing that's going to get them to be the healthiest.
Mm,
So yeah, I mean, if we can get them to be alkaline and producing healthy cells from a young age, then as time goes, they're going to be healthy and strong. So yeah, definitely beats McDonald's.
yeah. So you have a 2-year-old, and what does she eat? Like, what does she eat in a day?
Well, we do a lot of fruit. We eat fruit for breakfast, only fruit, and only fruit for supper. Every now and then we'll eat a different supper, but that's usually what we do. And while that maybe sounds a little mundane to some people, there's a lot of different, like, ideas that we've come up with. Yeah, like for one instance, I make like these cinnamon rolls, where it's plantains and some chia seeds. I guess that's not a fruit, but not a lot of chia seeds in it. And I dehydrate it, and then I blend up some dates with some cinnamon, and then I roll it up and then cut it up,
Mm,
and it's like this little cinnamon roll. And we have that with smoothies. We eat a lot of smoothies or a fruit salad, or just lots of fruit in general. I also make, like, I call them date balls. So it's just dates blended up with some coconut flour, and they make this perfect little, yeah, squishy little ball.
mm,
So we eat those. Sometimes I make like a pie crust actually out of that, and I'll blend up some avocado together with fresh coconut meat, and then put a date in there with some lemon juice and different things like that, and make like a cream sauce and put that in there as like a pie filling, and then cut up fruit around the top. So there's a lot of different ways you can eat fruit instead of just, peeling a banana, which is good too. Um,
yeah.
but for lunch, we decided to try, like, to do different things. So I eat all raw. My husband eats mostly raw, pretty much all raw. Every now and then we have a little cooked quinoa. But then our daughter, she has mostly raw as well. So we'll have different salads, and most kids don't like salads, but if you teach them how to eat it early, then they do kind of learn to like the salad. It's all in what they're
Mm,
eating. So she loves a lot of her dips. I make a lot of, like, raw seed dip, or like with sunflower seeds and with sesame seeds, and like pesto with walnuts and different things like that. She loves that. And I have different pastas that I make for her that are all organic. I think she has a buckwheat one, a pea pasta, quinoa pasta, lentil pasta. So like we alternate those every now and then, just
Mhm.
yeah. And she likes like sweet potato fries. So she eats very limited cooked, but she eats a little bit here and there. Most of all her sauces and different things are all raw. So we try to just incorporate as much as that as we can. And we have fresh juice every day as well. So in the afternoon, she gets a little jar of fresh juice. So she looks forward to that. So
Wow.
yeah.
Sounds delicious. You're making me hungry. I'm gonna eat my breakfast here in a bit.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. Wow. So there's so much diversity. And I love how you mentioned like different ways to eat fruits too. Um, and and I just wanted to add in there that there are so many different fruits. I think
Oh,
before I
yeah,
started eating high
yeah,
raw, um, you kind of stick to your normal things like oranges, apples,
yeah,
bananas.
yeah.
But really, there are so many fruits. Yesterday in my smoothie bowl, I had persimmon,
Oh,
figs, papaya,
oh,
yellow dragon fruit. Yeah, there's just so
wow, yeah.
much. Yeah,
That is
there's so much. And I love how at different times of the year you can find different fruits, right? So it's not that you're always eating the same thing. There's like limited availability.
yeah,
um,
definitely. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. That's awesome.
awesome. Do
Yeah.
you currently have a favorite meal, like something that you crave on a daily or weekly basis?
Yes, and that would be raw kale chips.
Mm.
I love kale chips. And actually, in Norway, our electrical prices have been like crazy expensive for the last several months. And so I haven't been able to use my dehydrator. And so we've had our wood stove going constantly. And so I figured out this little system that if I like hang up this like dehydrating rack above the wood stove, it dehydrates really well. So I've been making kale chips and I've been making cinnamon rolls and all kinds of different things for free. So I've
Wow.
been enjoying that.
Easy hack. That's amazing.
Yeah.
So, Tisla, I know you've written an ebook. Tell us a little bit about your ebook.
Yeah. Well, there's about 50 different recipes in there, and they're all plant based. There's quite a bit. I'd say probably half of them are raw vegan, and then the other half is whole foods plant based vegan. I kind of decided with that ebook to try to not just go all raw because that's a big change for everyone. So
Mm,
I was wanting to appeal to most people to try to make better, healthier options. All of my recipes are gluten free. They are, yeah, whole foods and just basically as healthy really as you can get. So yeah, lots of different options. And if you're somebody who is not thinking about going raw yet, but you're wanting to like make that transition, then it should be a good book for you to like work in towards into and make your changes as you go.
mm.
So yeah.
So, how can someone who's interested in getting your ebook get your ebook or get in touch with you if they have questions about it?
Yeah, you can check out my profile on Instagram at rawsome.tisla. And I have a link to it there. It's a Norwegian name. It's called levlandle.com, which means country living. So yeah, so we have it on there, and you can just click on there and yeah, go check it out.
Awesome. So,
Or you
wherever
can write
this
to me. Yeah.
Cool. So wherever this video is posted in the description, I'll be sure to link your Instagram and your website.
Okay.
That sounds really awesome. Thank you so much for taking the time to chat with me today, Tisla. It's been really amazing learning a little bit more about raw foods
Yeah,
and
awesome.
really the transformation that it's had for you.
Yeah, it's been great. Yeah, I've definitely enjoyed this, and we'll have to do it again sometime.
Absolutely. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'll talk to you later.
Okay, bye.
Bye.